as far as the wins are concerned, I wanted to just start with you guys. Like what, and I know interest rates are high, applications are low, you're getting shopped a lot. I know all that stuff, but if you focus on that stuff, it's just not going to be any fun at all. You've got to find, in a time like this, and remember, we talked about this at the beginning of the year when there's been a severe shift in the market, clearly, right? It's not going to last forever, but it's here right now. I think that one of the things that maybe hasn't been the most positive thing to have happen to us is the constant barrage of information from Barry Habib that the rates are going to come down, the rates are going to come down, the rates are going to come down. And when they don't, it jacks with you psychologically, right? And then if you're sharing information like that with real estate agents and clients, and then it doesn't happen, it jacks with their psychology too. So I just had this thought and curious as to what you can't control the rates. None of us can control the interest rates. I'm going to forward you a couple of blog posts that came out the last couple of days this week from Rob Chrisman talking about the rates and the prediction thing that's been going on. And I think they're pretty much targeting Barry because Barry's been very vocal about rates are going to be in the fives, right? Remember that rates were going to be in the fives this year. And nobody's ever been able to accurately predict what rates are going to do. I've never seen it. Giuseppe's been in this for 20 years. No one's ever accurately predicted what the rates are going to do. They're going to do what they're going to do. And so, because if they could accurately predict it, they wouldn't be in this business. I wouldn't be in this business. I'd be sitting back, playing the market. So, what if rates stay in the sevens? And what if inventory stays this tight? Now, what are we going to do? Because that's a reality, right? So if you knew that was going to happen and just go, well, okay, I have to develop a strategy around that. What's my strategy going to be? And I think that's something that I'm going to, Giuseppe, I'm going to reach out to Tim and talk to him about it and just go let's have a call about that. Let's have one of the coaching calls be, what if this is what it is? Because this is what it is right now. And hoping it's going to get better. And then when it does, we'll start to get a lot of refinance opportunities is not a good strategy. Because, we're hoping, and, we've all heard that hope is not a great strategy. Who wants to chime in on my thought process here?
I will.
Go ahead.
Because I started having a shift in this conversation probably about a month ago, and it's actually gone really well for me when I'm talking to not so much clients, but just like partners that I'm trying to form relationships with. And I think I've said that exact thing where there have been these predictions that they haven't come through. So my strategy has kind of been because people have asked me, how are you talking to clients? What are you doing to keep them motivated or on track? And I think what I've started to do is really encourage people to focus on the present, not the past, not the future, and just focus on what is right now, because people are still kind of attached to the past. They're hoping for things in the future. And really what that's doing is creating a lot of fear and hesitancy. But if you can get people to just focus on the present, which is kind of like a life strategy too, right? So people can apply and relate to it. That has really, I've just felt calmness from people when I have approached it that way. People not attaching to what was in the past, not waiting for what is in the future, just what is in the here and now, and kind of going through the search with that mindset.
I love that approach, Emily. Good for you, because that's the deal. And I think I think we put ourselves in a really precarious situation if we're out there predicting rates, because we kind of are. If we're saying, yeah, we think rates are going to be in the fives and the sixes in the spring or the summer or now Christmas or next year. And it's going, I don't know what they're going to do. You want to buy a house? Because if you want to buy a house, this is a much better time to buy a house because there's less buyers out there.
Yeah, I've stopped having rate prediction conversations because you start to kind of feel like a fraud a little bit when you're just regurgitating stuff that you've heard, which I'm sure is, there's.
Why don't you give Barry a call? Do us a favor and call Barry.
Yeah, so that's been my approach, and even just people. It's not really an answer, but it's a truth that people can relate to and understand. Just focus on the present. You can't look to the past. You can't look to the future. Because like I said, it's just kind of like a life mantra.
Well, and I'll own my part in this, because if jumped on the Barry bandwagon with you guys and said, yeah, it looks like rates are going to come better. We think this is going to happen. We think that's going to happen. But like, we think what's going to happen isn't going to happen. Like, we don't know what's going to, I don't know what's going to happen. I wish I did, but I don't. So I think that's a great approach. Congratulations, Emily. That's awesome. Who else? Who's got a win they want to share? I know Ryan does. Go ahead, Ryan. What are you doing next week?
Yeah, I mean, everybody, not everybody, but all the partners that I work with know that I've, geared a good chunk of what I do towards social media and trying to grow my brand. So I'm going down to Kenny and Company. There's, I don't know, maybe 40 or 50 agents in Kenny and Company. And I'm going to be the one person that's talking in front of their whole, for their sales meeting, just about growing their brand and doing social media and stuff like that. So it'll be cool. There's like 2 lenders that have kind of got a stronghold on the agents down there. So I work with a handful of them, and it'll just be a good opportunity to at least start the conversation with some other agents and see what comes out of it. Cause I think right now it's important to try and provide something that's different. There's just such a copycat industry. And when we try to provide value, there's a lot of times I think it comes over like, okay, you're another lender, right? And it's like, how can we create a relationship that isn't surrounded around showing people appraisal gaps or whatever it is? I know all that stuff's like important, but we just have to figure out a way to be a little bit different than the next guy. And so that's what I've figured out.
Well, getting a chance to be in front of 40 plus agents is a great opportunity, is a great thing. So good job. Jacqueline raised her hand. Jacqueline, what you got?
So can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I've obviously I've only been back working 2 weeks, I think. Or 3 weeks. Anyways, I haven't been back for very long. So I'm in a massive catch-up game. But one of the things that I made sure to do before I went on leave is the newsletters. And so I made sure that I had those all pre-written and ready to go so that they continue to go out while I was gone. And because I've stayed super consistent with those, and I just finished up the July one, and I'll start working on the August one. So I like to try to get them in the mail within the first week of the month so that people see them timely. But I'm getting really good feedback on those, and I'm starting to see a lot more activity from past clients. I think while I was out, the majority of my loans were past client deals, or past client referrals. So, which is great. I mean, obviously I'd love to have new clients in there too, but the fact that I'm getting so many past client deals, I feel like is huge. And then I'm starting to see a lot more conversations from real estate agents that maybe I've met with before, and they're reaching out to meet with me again. And I've not done deals with them because they're getting frustrated with their current lenders. So the best thing that I can say is just keep on the agents, even if they've told you no. My top referring agent is Jason Ellis, and I've been working with him for 10 years now. And when I first called him, he told me no. And then somebody dropped the ball, and now I'm his preferred lender and have been for a really long time. And
you do 7 to 10 deals, 12 deals a year with him, right?
Yeah, minimum.
Yeah.
And that's just new deals. That's not even the past client referrals that I get from our mutual clients. That's not the refinances when that's a thing and stuff like that. So, and I have several relationships like that now, where it's an agent who maybe had another lender partnership. And I think right now, with everything that's going on in the market, you've got lenders over promising things that they can't do. You've got lenders who are just dropping the ball in general because they're frustrated or freaked out. People are going to keep falling out of the business, and people just can't hack the higher rates. And so you just have to keep doing what you're doing because it does work. So that's kind of where I've seen some of the positiveness, and it's given me, coming back from being gone for 3 months, has given me the opportunity, and feels like a more legit reason to call on an agent and to be like, hey, I'm back. What do you need? Can I schedule coffee? I had a coffee meeting last week with an agent that I met with probably 5 years ago, and she's never given me any deals, and she's hiring her lender, wants to start using me. So, and it's just, she reached out on Facebook and needed a referral for something, and I found somebody for her, and that's all that happened. So be the resource on top of everything else that you do. If you could be a resource for people that they're like, oh, I don't even do business with you, and you're sending me somebody, what is this? because it surprises people and it's just a higher level of service.
Well, and then the law of reciprocity kicks in, right? Like, oh, you did something for me. I need to do something for you now. Thank you. And so people that's a real thing. So great job. Great job. Awesome. Who else?
I just had an awesome vision board night with a realtor that I've been targeting for a minute. So she's big. Her stepdad is a builder. And so like she's looking potentially in the future for a preferred lender for all the multiple sites that he's going to be building. So that would be really sweet to, get that, I don't know, opportunity. But we had a good vision board night, which is what she wanted to do for an event. And I felt like it was really good. Like she was so genuine, and I felt like it was really productive and really helpful for others. So I want to do more work with her for
Right
sure.
on.
Yeah.
Right on. That's great. Who else? Who hasn't spoke up? G, you got anything? Nope. Dude, I'm sorry.
I'll-
bud. Go
I'll
ahead.
chime in real fast. So wins for me is that finally people are starting to call me. I've been doing outbound calls, calling my network, calling people, say, what's going on? Oh yeah, nothing, just sort of general BS. But just in the last probably 2 weeks, the inbound calls are starting to happen. They're calling, they're saying, hey, what do you think? Can we approach it this way? Or what do we need? Just different advice as much as anything. Not necessarily going, oh, here's, a handful of clients, but I'm just appreciated that at least my outbound calls and checking in with somebody that I'm not bugging them. They're actually calling me now and asking me questions. And I think that's going to lead to obviously further rekindling in relationships and ultimately referrals. So
Right on.
I'm pretty psyched about
great.
that.
That's great. Chris?
Oh, I was just gonna say when I wasn't on the call last week, but I I just think the power of following up with your pre-approval, staying in touch with people, going through your system and showing your buyer presentation slides, just educating clients, it just pays off. It just takes time. Because Dave always jokes like, hey, I'm gonna go out of town, dude. You're gonna get like a bunch of contracts, and I got like 13, 12 or something in 2 weeks. It was insane. I happened to be on vacation too, so that was fun. But I just think like if you just keep staying in front of people, that's 90% of it. Get the lead and stay in front of them.
Well, what I've noticed with all of you this year, that have like, a bigger past client, following, is that you've had streaks where like nothing happens for 10 days and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And then you have 10 days of, I got 12 apps. It's happened a couple of times, 3 times to people this year. And so it's that kind of year. If you go back to the book Shift, and I think that's a great book to go back and reference, and to my point about like, well, what if this is what the rates are? And what if this is what the inventory is? And it lasts until, I don't know when. Like, what if that's the new normal? Like, okay, well, what are you going to do? I'll tell you what's going to happen. You're committed to the business, then just have to know that there's a bunch of people that aren't, and they're going to go on to something else. Right. And there's a bunch of real estate agents that are going to get out of the business. And there's a bunch of, and similarly with lenders, right? It happens every time we go through one of these cycles. I've never considered doing anything else. Right. I just remember when rates went up on me the first time, I thought I was going to refinance the world, and everybody's like going, oh, you got to do. And I think rates were in the 8s then. I don't know. I know I'm dating myself. I was like, oh yeah, he's an old man, walked in the snow, a mile in the snow, uphill both ways. But the 8% rates were just as prohibitively expensive as they are now to everybody at the time. Everybody thought that was crazy. I'm not buying a house, 8%. This is nuts. And then they got down below 8 and like, okay, now I'll buy a house. Right. So it's all relative. John was telling me that he's noticed that the clients aren't as pukey when they hear high 6s, low 7s anymore, because time has passed now, right? We've been in a higher rate environment for a longer time. It's more normal, right? It's become more normal. When you first, I always say this always happens when you go from one tier of rates, the 5s into the 6s, everybody throws up. And when you go from this, but then when you're in the sixes for a while, it's normal and nobody pushes back. But if you go from the sixes to the sevens, they throw up again. And then when it goes back the other way, it's like, this is amazing. And so it's just it's all the psychological games that you got to help your clients manage through. And that's what you've got to do for yourself. I forwarded. I don't think we have anything else unless anybody wants to add.
Oh, I was
anything.
gonna kind of
Go ahead.
chime in on that too. I've been thinking that too. I'm like, okay, like what's going on? I think people just like, fuck it, I'm gonna buy a home. Like, what am I waiting for? They've been in, I mean, it's been like a year since they were around. I guess last year's they'd be mid sixes or low sixes. But anyway, I think that's a good point. People are like, well, I can't keep renting. Might as well just buy a home. And you just got to keep hammering in like to the clients, like it is a good time because there's no buyers. And I think half those contracts I got had 2-1 buy downs on them. So it's like you're getting a rate in the 5s, right? Or maybe a 4, but depending when you locked, like that's not bad, right? And we're just going to refinance later. You just got to sell the value, free refinances for life, and then just
and sell
continue
the
to follow up with people.
and sell the appreciation they're going to get. The gain of like, you buy the house now, you're going to, if you make,
Yeah.
what do we think? I don't know what your predictions are, but I guarantee home values are going to increase at least 5% over the next 12 months.
So that appreciation tool on MBS Highway, I've been using that a lot with realtors and clients, showing, the current loan and the zip code where they buy, how much they're putting down over 3 to 5 years, what the appreciation looks like. And now that's a new slide in my pre-approval meetings. And I'm actually sending that out when somebody asks for numbers on a house that they want to place an offer on. I'll put the
Cool.
appreciation graph in there with the numbers so they can see what that house looks like over 5 years, and realtors are loving that shit.
What are you using for an appreciation rate?
Whatever it pulls up for the zip code. So you can click the button that says calculate, or you can put a custom one in. Usually down here, it's around 6%.
That's awesome. What a great idea.
I would
love that.
love if you sent that out to us.
Yeah,
There's a real
it's
estate
just,
report card. I use that. I don't know what you use, Christine, but
if you go into MBS Highway, hold on. It's at the top, and it's like the appreciation gold tool.
Yeah, and it's-
Calculators, there's
Oh,
affordability, amortization, appreciation, and you can actually do like a 1-page document that shows during your pre-approvals, okay, here's what it looks like over 3 to 5 years. You can put in your own appreciation rate or just take the rate for the zip code. But that's been getting super high reviews for me with everybody. It keeps people motivated too in a high rate environment if they see what their investment looks like over 5 years.
and on the Barry thing, I've felt the same way too. I'm like, man, I feel like I'm lying to clients. Like keep saying like, oh, 5. I didn't believe when he said 5 in January. I was like, that's fucking nuts, dude. That's crazy. But but I have looked at I've read certain other sources and whatnot, and I mean, I'm still trying to stay optimistic because all signs are pointing towards lower inflation and all that. But and a lot of the other sources are kind of reconfirming that. But yeah, we can't just bank on that and just sit and wait. You have to still be proactive.
That's
And just
exactly.
focusing on the historical appreciation of homes in Colorado instead of rates altogether. Like this
You know,
is what your money looks like over time.
I read that just on the subject of rates real quick. I read something that was really good where when the customer asks you, what's your rate? And then that's always like a question that when you hear it, you go like, right, you tense up like, oh, fuck, we're going to have that discussion now. And a great answer to like change the dynamic of that conversation is, what rate were you hoping for? They don't know, right? Because they just know a low rate's good. Everybody knows a low rate's good. Let me show you how the rates, where the rates are today, and educate you as the best way to structure your loan so that you can get the lowest overall cost of borrowing for the life of your loan, right? And so just, becoming the person who educates them. I just thought that was a great question. That was a great comeback to the what's your rate question.
Yeah, I mean, what's in terms of like just rates right now, my one liner has been when anybody asks me like, what are rates right now? I'm like, oh, like low 7s, and I love it. And people are like, what do you mean? And then you just catch their attention right away. And I'm like, yeah, it's great. There's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines because of this. So you guys have awesome opportunity here in the next few months. And it just gets them out of that like negative mindset, like right away, right when I
It's
say
a great
that.
line, Ryan. I love that.
I
job.
say this, like, I don't know if this is helpful, but like, basically, I'm like, well, the people who won during COVID, it wasn't the people out there shopping, right? Because all the house prices just kept going up, going up, going up. It was the people who were already in their home. Those are the people who really won, because all they did is pick up the phone and give me a call, and say, I want to refi. And then we just dropped their payment. They didn't have to give their firstborn child or, like lose out on a bunch of contracts. So yeah, you're going to start out here with your rate, but you might get here with your loan amount. And then we're just going to keep chipping away at your payment over time. So.
I love that. That's a great response. And that's a greght perspective to put in front of people. Like I said, I'd be sell the appreciation opportunity, because we know that the houses are going to go up in value and the rates are, when I say the rates are going to come down, rates are always going to be different in the future. They might be higher, they might be lower. And when they are, you're going to get a refinance, because I'm going to stay on top of it and be monitoring your loan. As soon as you close, I plug in a target interest rate in my system. I get an email when we hit it, and you're going to get an email from me saying, hey, we're at your rate. You want to go? And I'll just lock you in and we can move on. And so there's just all kinds of ways for you to do this at a level that you can really have an impact on these people. And think about the favor that you're doing. The book Shift talks about this, is like, what are you going to do now? Because this is where the market is. And I think that's probably the best approach to take in an environment like this. And remember, the other thing that I heard that I shared, I think at the beginning of the year, it's been about a year that this has sucked. Let's be honest. It's been about a year, because I was looking at the board. It was last July that the market started to turn and we started to see the lower numbers coming in. And so it's been about a year, and in every 10-year business cycle, you have 2 amazing years, 2 shit years, and the other 6 are just decent years, right? We're in the middle of our shit year, right? Like maybe this is the middle of the first, the shit 2 years. You're not broke. You're not on food stamps. You're not, you're not getting thrown out of your house. This is just what the market is right now. And go out and get your unfair share of the market, because there's guys that are doing plenty of volume, just being an animal at prospecting and follow up. So that's it. That's what you have to do. What is your other option? I guess that's the big question to have to ask yourself is, if I don't do this, what is my other option? And it goes back to what the conversation I had with Mike White when I was considering not doing this in 2007. He's like, is there another business you and Lori can get into? You can make 20 grand a month faster than this one. I was like, nope. And he goes, well, I guess you're doing this. And I said, yeah, I guess I am. And that was it. And so we just never looked back. So, so there you go. All right. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you listening, and have an awesome Friday. We'll see you on the call.